This video is going to be about car buying decision, financial aspects of buying a car. And I have immense interest in the passenger vehicle segment, and I keep following all the cars just because I'm interested in it. So I follow YouTubers like Faisal Khan and Autocar India and Ashish Masi Cars. So I come with a lot of interest in this area, and because I'm very interested in finance, I'm going to talk about these two topics together. So normally when you go to buy a car, and normally when you see people on YouTube, they're only going to talk about your needs and wants. Whether you need a 7-seater MPV or you need a 4-seater car or a 5-seater car, that is all they will talk about. But today I'm going to talk about the money, because at the end of the day, payment goes out from your pocket, not their pockets. And it is very important that you understand that buying a car is a very big decision in your life. Although you think it is just a small car or a big car or any car based on your income, even if you are in 20 lakh income bracket, it is very important that you take a financial decision sensibly. So, first of all, let me tell you what Google says about this. So, okay, Google, how much should I spend on a car?
Here's a summary from Mint. First, don't spend more than half of your annual income on a car. Suppose your annual income is 10 lakh rupees. The loan tenure should be for a maximum of 4 years, and the equated monthly installment should not be more than 10% of the monthly income.
Okay. Um, I wish it was that simple, and I wish it was that easy to take an advice from an AI. But then let's look into what it is like to buy a car based on your income. Normally, people say that your car should not exceed 5 to 10% of your net worth. But for normal people like you and me, we do not know what our net worth is. And net worth can be a very different calculation. Your net worth might be constituting of illiquid assets. You may be a high net worth individual and you may be having about 10 crores worth of assets, but they are all illiquid, and you really have very little cash which is liquid or investments which is liquid, let's say 10 lakhs. So net worth is not the right measure on which you should be making a financial decision, number one. Number two, whether or not you should make a decision based on simple financial income. So let's say you're earning 10 lakhs and you should buy a car for 5 lakhs. I will not get into this thing because the car segment starts from around 3.5 to 5 lakhs. There is taxes, and on-road prices go easily up to 4.5 lakhs. And those are the smaller cars which lack safety and basic amenities. They are just for the purpose of driving around. That you need a car and not a two-wheeler. So it starts from around 4 lakhs. You have Datsun Redigo, you have Alto, you have Espresso, you have Renault Kwid, you have Tata Tiago, and in Hyundai, I think you have i10 Neos. And this goes right up to 25 lakhs in the non-premium segment. Then if you go into premium segment, then sky is the limit. The Maybach costs around 2 to 4 crores. It's just sky is the limit. So let's talk about cars which are for normal people like you and me. Because if you are going to buy a Maybach, I don't think you're watching this video right now. So let's think about it. Any car which you normally desire and is a small car still costs you around 10 lakhs. So I'm assuming that your income is 20 lakhs and net taxable income is 20 lakhs. And let's make a computation as to how much you actually have in hand on a monthly basis. So I've made a computation on paper, and if this is not clear in the video, I will substitute it with a PowerPoint screen or something, but I prefer handwritten stuff. So here it is. I'll just show you. So let's say your starting income is 20 lakhs and we put tax on it. You can see the computation of tax, which is 0%, 5%, 20%, and 30%, and then cess of 4%. After tax, your annual income is coming around 15 lakh 71,000. For an income of 20 lakhs, you get in hand of 15 lakh 71,000. Post which, let's say your monthly income is 1 lakh and 30,000. And we will come down to what it is like. So let's say you make a decision of buying a car, and 10 lakhs is the normal price. Let's say you're going for Baleno or an Altroz on a top model, and then this is the price roughly which will cost you, and you take the decision which Google has told you. You will, let's say, pay a down payment of 3 lakhs, and let's say your finance is around 7 lakhs. So for a 5-year tenure, your monthly EMI will come around 14,000 change. This is only and only your EMI. And this you have to factor in while making the payment. 3 lakhs which you have to allocate first as a down payment, and on a monthly basis you have to shed out 14,000 just for paying the EMI. It does not include any sort of running costs. So let's assume that you have a lakh and 30 per month and you have it in hand. I'm guessing most of the people already have a house or are dreaming of a house in this situation. When you are making a decision of buying a car, it cannot be in isolated circumstances. You have to consider what is your next financial target. So your next financial target is either a house or you already have a house which is financed. If you have a house which is financed and let's say your house's loan part is 60 lakhs for about 10 years, which is the average duration and average loan amount for a normal individual, and the EMI which comes on a monthly basis is around 72,000 on a monthly basis. And I will give you a computation of bare minimum that you will be doing. So if you see in this one, I have given house EMI of around 70,000 and then I have given an SIP investment of 20,000, because I don't think you are stupid enough to block your money into a vehicle alone. You must be saving for your future, let's say your child's expenses or your personal family trips or anything. So I'm taking an SIP amount of 20,000 and your monthly expenses on the bare minimum side of 30,000, which I still think is not practical, but let's say you're managing. And then you have around 10,000 of disposable income in hand. With 10,000 in your hand, do you think it makes sense to follow Google and simply go buy a car which is yielding you around 14,000 EMI per month without any running costs? And this is where financial decisions are not explained. Financial advisors are not explained. Sorry, I'm wrong in that situation. So I'll come back to this topic and I'll come back to all this, but let's start factoring in the running cost. The equation is not simple. It is not 50% of your income. It is in fact based on your monthly savings. And monthly savings should be after allocating expenses and investments towards your future. Let's say your child or let's say your family trips, whatever it is. It should be after allocating that money for your future. If you cannot buy a car and tomorrow if your phone goes bad or you need some sort of a capital repair in your house, you can't be like, I don't have any money, because these are inevitable things and you need it at any cost in the future. So let's come at the cost of running a vehicle. Here also I've made a handmade computation, but in case this does not come clearly in the video, I will put a slide. So this is a handmade computation. I'll just narrate it. As of today, the petrol price in Hyderabad is 110 and in Mumbai it is 112. On an average, your petrol mileage is 14 kilometers, which I've taken on an average purpose. If you're going for an SUV, forget it. Estimate around 10 to 12 per liter. On an average, let's say you're getting 14, the cost per kilometer is around 8 rupees. And diesel, as of today, costs 103. There's a difference of 7 rupees, and it, let's say, yields a mileage of 18 today. As of now, it's impractical to run at 18 kmpl in a city, but let's say you're getting it, and the cost of running is around 6 rupees. For you, the difference is only 2 rupees here per kilometer. And then I will also start coming into EV, because we have to be future proof, and EV is the best option for only city rides. And EV, around 1 rupee per kilometer is the estimated cost as of today. When the future comes and the electricity prices go up, then the cost will vary. But let's say you have an individual house where you have installed solar panels, you are practically going to run your EV in the city for free, because you're going to extract all the solar energy to charge your vehicle. With a running cost of 8 rupees and 6 rupees per kilometer, I'm assuming you're buying a car because you have a daily running of 20 kilometers to your office or your workplace. That is 10 to and fro, 10 plus 10, 20. If you have something like 10 and 15 kilometers, it makes more sense to take a two-wheeler. It is convenient, it is cost effective, and it is low maintenance. You have no headache where to park it. So I'm believing you have at least 20 kilometers of running per day, and that's why you're taking a car to your workplace, and that's your decision. So 20 kilometers into 25 working days on the minimum side. I'm not even including your family trips and your excursions on a car and your daily run to grocery stores. Those are like out of the picture for me. 25 days, 20 kilometers, 500 kilometers a day, and 6,000 kilometers a year. I will take another 2,000 kilometers because it happens that you will go to a service center. There are certain inevitable runs your car will go through during 1 year. So let's say you run 8,000, which is still less. There are people who do 20,000 in a year. So 8,000 kilometers in 1 year into 8 rupees or 6 rupees of running cost, which costs you around 70,000. Yes, 70,000 per annum on a minimum side. Servicing again costs 10,000 minimum. If you're buying a luxury vehicle, about a lakh also sometimes per service. So with 72,000 per annum, 6,000 per month, you have to consider 14,000 rupees of EMI and 6,000 rupees of running cost on an average. So about 20,000 you need to shed on a monthly basis to run a basic vehicle like Baleno or Altroz, which is not even that expensive. Even Swift costs almost a lakh less, but 9 lakhs maybe Swift costs. So this is the running costs. And after factoring all this, you realize that your savings per month and disposable cash in your hand is only 10,000. Unless you're taking an EV, it's impractical to buy a car with 10,000 rupees in hand per month. Only the running costs will be high enough for you. So, and this entire computation was for 20 lakhs per annum. Do not forget that. And there are very, very few people who actually touch 20 lakhs per annum. Most of the people are on an average earning 7 to 15 lakhs per annum on an average. And if you are really wealthy, then you really don't care about this video. So let's not get into that. Now, this is what you have to realize and think from a savings point of view. So when you're buying a car, your simple calculation will be savings minus the running cost per month, which is an estimate, whatever you're going for petrol or diesel or an electric, and minus the EMI. You should still have around 2,000 buffer in hand because it will not be respectable if you don't even have some money in your hand. So just keep 2,000 to 3,000 per month in your hand. And that is based, this is what your buying decision should be based on. And this is also very simple, to be honest. If you get into personal details like what is your monthly commitment to your family and what is your monthly loan commitments which are outstanding from a previous generation, or let's say what is your house commitment in the future if you're buying a house worth 2 crores and you need 1.2 crores as loan, then I hope you're understanding. It's very, very deep and nobody can advise to that level. I'm only going to tell you that consider savings, consider the running cost, and consider your EMI. And this is the basic factor, basic funda for any car buying decision. And now I will come to the actual buying decision, and this is purely because of my interests and the collaboration with finance. So in this sheet, I'm going to break down your decision between petrol, diesel, and electric. In normal terms, you will buy electric. I'll start with electric because you will buy electric only and only if you have city runs, and rarely, maybe once a year, you need to go out for more than 200 kilometers. Then you will go for electric. But if you have city plus highway runs and that you go out on a longer trip, let's say once or twice in 2 months, then you will go for a petrol vehicle. But if you have mixed runs on a daily basis that you touch highway and city on a daily basis, then you will of course go for a diesel. This is the basic decision. But I will come down to the break-even point in money terms. So again, the calculation. I have given you costs per kilometer over here, but let's come down to the average running. Monthly, I told you around 500 kilometers and annually 6,000 to 8,000 kilometers. Let's move to what is your cost per annum. Cost per annum for just running is around 64,000 and 10,000 for servicing. Cost per annum for diesel is around 6 into 8,000, 48,000. And I'm taking 12,000 as a basic because diesel servicing costs more. And let's say 60,000 is your running cost in diesel. And cost in electric vehicle can be only 4,000 if you're installing a solar panel, and it can be around 12,000. Servicing also I have taken 4,000 as there are no components that needs to be serviced. There's only an electric motor and a tire that wears out after 20-30,000 kilometers. So this is your cost per annum. Now to make this comparison very practical, I'm going to use Nexon as a standard. It has 5-star ratings. It has all electric, petrol and diesel, all variants. And I'm going to take automatic for comparison because electric is an automatic vehicle. I cannot compare it with a manual vehicle. So I'm going to take top end vehicles of all these cars and I'm going to compare it. So I'll start with XZA Nexon petrol. Costs around 12.77 lakhs on road with 12% road tax. This is an estimate from cardekho.com, and then your diesel costs around 15.11 lakhs and your electric costs around 16.8 lakhs. As of today, the road tax has been removed for electric vehicles and 16.56 lakhs is the top model cost. I'm taking another 15,000 for insurance. So 16.8 lakhs. If the need be, you can take 17 lakhs as well. I will not stop you from your computations. So the premium which you're paying for Nexon diesel over petrol is around 2.3 lakhs, and for just electric alone 4 lakhs. So for you as a normal person, 4 lakhs will be the point which will hit your head and will be like, I can't spend 4 lakhs more on electric. But then honestly, let's try to compute the break-even point. So an additional amount of 4 lakhs will be your base. The savings which you make per kilometer is very important here. So in case of petrol and diesel, normally it's 2 to 3 rupees only, whatever you do. So 2 rupees, let's say you're saving per kilometer. And how many years do you need to break even the premium that you pay for diesel? So 2.33 lakhs divided by 2 or 3 rupees. I'm just doing with 2 rupees. So it's around 1 lakh kilometers change. And per annum you're running is around 6,000 to 8,000. If you simply do the division, you will get around 15 to 16 years of time to break even the cost. And post this, every time you run a diesel vehicle, it will be beneficial for you. And the next break even for electric, which people mostly forget to see, is that it costs you either 1 rupee or 2 rupees per kilometer maximum and free on the minimum end. So in that case, your premium of 4 lakhs will be compensated in around 6 to 7 years. So after 6 or 7 years of you running your electric vehicle, every single kilometer that you run, which is 8 rupees minus 1 rupee of your cost, 7 rupees will be saving per kilometer on a daily basis. And this kind of breakup no person is giving at this moment. I don't know if there is anyone. Please refer them in the comments so people go and watch their videos also. So this is the financial aspect. The running cost is very important. I've given you the running cost separately and I've given you the savings aspect very separately. Like, you need to understand how much you're saving and how much you should be spending. My understanding of financial aspect is over. Now I'm going to talk about the cars itself. It's very basic and it's very general, and I don't really need to give this advice, but go for safer cars. And as of today, cars with 5-star rating include Tata Punch, Tata Altroz, Tata Nexon, Mahindra XUV 300, and I think that's it. I don't believe there are any other cars, but I'm hoping that Safari and Harrier are being regarded as safe cars, and XUV 700 is also one of the safe cars at this moment. So safe cars are this in the segment, the cheaper one being Tata Punch and the most expensive being Harrier, but it does not have a rating, Harrier and Safari. And starting with joint family requirements, the cheapest car is Renault's, I don't remember the exact model, but Renault gives a car for around 10 to 12 lakhs and Ertiga gives around 15 lakhs. Then you come to Innova, Fortuner, Safari, Alcazar, and Kia, what is the name? Carnival, Kia Carnival. So these are all MPVs in case you have a joint family. But the cheapest car starts from right about around 12 lakhs. So you can't give reasons that I need a Fortuner for this reason, which is costing you 35 to 40 lakhs. So everything is available in the market for you depending on what you need and not what you want. And the next thing you have to understand is what you actually can make use of. If you are buying a Fortuner and you are driving it around the city only, then first thing you have to understand, you will not find parking easily. Wherever you stop in the road, people will be honking at you and it is very difficult to manage. The cost of running a Fortuner is humongous. I have no explanation also. It costs around 10 rupees or 12 rupees per liter of diesel and the service cost is also high. It's not as high as a luxury car, but yeah. And just because some people are tall like me. I am 6'2", so I cannot go and drive an Alto because my legs won't even fit. I'll be crippled in that entire car. But that is also a necessity. If you are tall, then you have to go for a bigger vehicle, and if you are short, then you can actually take the advantage of that situation and go for a smaller vehicle. And these things I don't need to explain to you. If you can really afford only an Alto, or let's say a Tata Tiago or Hyundai i10, you really can't go and buy Tata Safari just because you have the down payment at this moment. Because the future, you will regret it on a daily basis. And your first car cannot be a luxury car, it is but obvious. Even if you are going to buy a second hand car, trust me, the service costs will give you a heart attack. So your first car cannot be a luxury car, like how you normally your first phone is never an iPhone 13 Pro. Likewise, your first car cannot be a BMW 3 or 5 series or Mercedes C-Class. You have to understand those things very, very clearly. And I've taken all this video in one take because I do not want any sort of interruptions, and I do not want to give any point in a delayed manner. So I hope you liked this video, and if it was a little too much, I'm very sorry for that. I just have a lot of interest in this area and I thought, why not? So that's it. All the best. Thank you.